Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Courtney and today I've got a speed build of a Craftsman. Is a very loose term, but a cottage as well. It's basically a big suburban home. The whole build was inspired by this kind of idea I had in my head of just this massive big family suburban home with a swing in the front garden, and I ended up basing up the whole build off of that one image I had. I had an inspiration pick for the kind of style and shape that I wanted, but that was a very, very loose inspiration. I only showed the front, but I used that as the main source of inspo. But once I added in that swing, I realized I just wanted to have this big wraparound garden. So as you can see, when the video goes on, the roofing honestly took me ages. I don't even want to talk about how long this took me. So the build in total took me about 3.5 hours, and it was split into a 1 hour of recording and then 2 hours of recording, and the 1 hour is pretty much just doing the shell and the exterior. But I had some problems in my game because of, I don't know what it is. I think there's an issue that's a bug at the minute where objects are just randomly deleting. So I decided to quickly take all my mods out just in case that was it. I mean, I only have NC Command Center in there, just for weather cheats and things like that. So it wasn't too much of a hassle, but I quickly took that out. I didn't want to get any further in the build and then have more things disappear. So here I was going to do originally have a balcony in the back garden, looking over the back garden, but in the end, for the way the roofing was working, it didn't make sense to do that at all. So I ended up just doing a big wraparound roof. I didn't want to have the roof cut into that room too much, just in case I wanted to open up the floor to the floor below, because sometimes it means that the roof clips. So that bit's made up of 3 roof pieces. When we get onto the top, there's a piece of the roof which is genuinely made up of about 4 or 5 pieces, and it was a stress to say the least. Yeah, and I honestly deleted this, restarted it and rebuilt it over and over again, just trying to get that shape right. I don't know, I think especially with that exterior, I put so much time into the build and into the way it looks on the outside, and then by the time I get inside, I've run out of energy and I've run out of steam. And I think in this case, especially for a family home, I think when I put something on the gallery, I want it to be relatively neutral inside. So your gameplay that actually shapes the inside of the house. I left a lot of the walls blank, so I imagine if you're playing family gameplay, you might have pictures of your Sims family that could go on the wall, or even if you're into the painting skill, those things can be added. So I kind of left the interior very neutral and ready for gameplay, which I think I don't always do in my builds. So I thought that was a nice little change as well. Another thing is, this build only uses base game, seasons, and the holiday celebration stuff, which was free a few years ago. And the only thing I used out of that is the fairy lights. So usually I go mad and I use every single pack I have in my builds in some way or another. But I thought it would be a nice challenge, even though it's not hard, but it'd be a nice kind of challenge for myself to build with 1 or 2 packs, to then see what I could come up with. And I think seasons is honestly one of my first loves. All the packs, the stuff or the style is so consistent, and it's just so lovely, and all the wood tones match in all of the swatches, which is a very rare thing for The Sims 4, I think. So I also wanted some big open spaces downstairs, but also have that kind of traditional feel where it's a little bit closed off as well. The floor plan was actually a very quick thing to do. I only changed it a little bit later on when I realised one of the doors wouldn't go to one of the rooms. But one thing is my windows just weren't placing properly, and this was again before I took my mods out. So, but once I took that out, it was working fine. So there was no kind of issues there, which was good. And I try and find this really dark blue colour, because this was a picture I was inspired by. It was this gorgeous navy blue. Oh, it was so lovely, and I was trying to find that in the game, and I just realised we don't have it. I've started learning how to do CC, and I'm kind of tempted to create some wall textures and wallpapers of colours that we don't have in the game. So that really nice bright green there, I would like that but in a blue tone, if you feel what I mean, a nice rich blue tone, because at the minute we've got a lot of cool greys and slate blues, but we don't really have any rich navy blues. So I might get back into CC creation and just make some nice custom wallpapers for outside. I changed the wood tones a couple of times as well because I feel like I didn't know what I was going for, and I really like the white on the blue, but I didn't like on the blue, like is it for the windows and that, but I didn't really like it for the supporting beams like at the front, or like the wood, or the colour of the floor. So I kind of like I spent a little while trying to like figure out what colour I wanted, and in the end I went for that like light kind of like soft wood colour, which I think it does look quite nice. I'm still kind of unsure about it. I think grey could have also worked, but then I think you end up with like the darker stone, which I'm not always a massive fan of either. There are many times throughout this like bit where I go to use things from like Get Together, which is also one of my favourite expansion packs. So like that mailbox, I felt like it would look so cute on this lot, and I couldn't use it, and I was so upset. And the same with the fencing as well. I cut out a little bit of the video, but I was trying to find this fence for ages, and in the end I just used the hedgerow because like we don't have a nice like picket fence, and that's what I felt like this house like deserved, was a nice white picket fence, and we just don't have one. At least in the packs I don't have one. So if there are any that you like know that have a picket fence in there, just like drop a comment and let me know, and I will probably buy it, because I find it every time I build something like this, I want a picket fence, and so many of my Sims families deserve that. So this house actually has like 3 doorways, which I find which is kind of strange, but I think it works really nicely because it's the corner lot in Newcrest, the 30 by 30 lot. So it has 3 doorways, which I think is kind of cool for your Sims, because sometimes like they generate, like when they come back from work or school, they end up like on one side of the lot, and then they have to walk around, and I don't know about you, but I find that so frustrating. So I was like, I'm going to put a door on the side, especially with this big kind of like wraparound garden. I felt like it worked quite well to have like the 2 entrances. And that's why I put a gate on that side rather than having an archway like I do at the front, because in that way that could be locked, and Sims won't be able to come through. And I wanted to have the same on the front, but I felt like it was just too close to the porch that it didn't really make sense. So I didn't go as like mad as I normally do with the landscaping. I used kind of like the same 4 plants, I think, and the same stone. And I think this is what like adds all the value to the house. Like I didn't think it would be that expensive, and then I saw the final cost of it, and it was like over 100,000, and I was like, oh god, what have I done? And I think it was just all the landscaping, because I don't really tend to use debug, because I just hate that you can't like eyedrop it, or you can't find them very easily. I'm gonna get the build by mod, I think, to try and I think it's the better build by, and where it like organizes your debug menu for you, which honestly would be the easiest thing in the world, and I would probably end up using more debug items, and my builds probably wouldn't be so expensive. But that's fine, that's what Motherload's for, am I right? So we're about halfway through the video, and well, hardly, but we're about halfway through, and I'm still not even on the interior yet. I think I move into it very soon, but I keep going and on that exterior, and I just start making the back garden. And I think I've put every single skill item possible in here. I've got we start out with like the barbecue, and then I add in a chess table and a climbing frame for the kids, and then I also add in a bit later on an easel inside the house, and I add a woodworking table and a bonsai tree, like a bonsai tree, and then also planters and a beehive. I wanted there to be like so many things to do on this lot, especially with that massive garden. I didn't just want to fill it with like didn't just want to fill it with landscaping and call it a day. I actually wanted this lot to be very functional and work very well for kind of any sim family, and then you can just kind of swap out items as you need. So I knew there was going to be a lot of Sims. I think there's enough space in this house for between 6 to 8 Sims. So I wanted to have a big table outside rather than like a bench or a little one with the umbrella. But there's also the seat up on the porch as well, which is good, especially for big families, because I find when all my family can't eat at the same table in my game, it's kind of frustrating. But then here I'm adding in those like lantern posts as well, and I was trying to get it to attach to like the roof, but where it was on a foundation it kept jumping up, so in the end I just added another one so it makes it kind of like hang over the pathway a little bit. And then also when the chest table goes in, it goes in just there, so it's quite a nice little light for that whole area. I can just imagine them being sat in that little hot tub, or even just like the parents, you know, middle-aged, living their best life, kids are away, they're in the hot tub and they're just enjoying it. During the night time I think it just looks gorgeous. So I had a few little lights around the place to try and highlight all the little nooks and crannies of the lot. And then after this we jumped straight into the inside, just adding a little bit more landscaping around the fence so it looks a little bit more natural and lush, because I think that fence is just quite a harsh border, especially in like Newcrest, because there's not any like many, it's not as the same as like any of the other worlds where they have a little bit more going around, or like there's houses in the background, you know, so it doesn't seem like natural to have like their hedge there and then nothing else. So I kind of like to add little bits of landscaping. So inside I knew roughly what I wanted to do, but there wasn't anything like specific in terms of like a family. So I just knew I wanted to have at least 4 bedrooms and at least 2 bathrooms, because I think especially when you've got a big family, it's so hard to have like 1 bathroom. So at least this way I added in an ensuite in the parents' room, which I haven't done for a while. I don't usually do ensuites in my builds. Because I find it annoying when like all the other Sims like come in through the room to go to the bathroom. I don't know why, it just bothers me. I think it's because it's not something I would do in real life. So I do 3 bathrooms. There's 1 downstairs and 2 upstairs, and there are actually 2 baths in this lot, which I think is really good as well, because I end up putting in 2 toddler beds, and I always find like when there are 2 toddlers, they both get dirty at the same time, and oh sis, it frustrates me, because one's like crying and upset because they're all dirty, and then the other one's like getting bathed and you're just like, just wait please. Can you tell I'm not a big fan of toddlers in the game sometimes. So this is kind of the start of the furnishing, because of I put in the taller height of walls at the top so that the roofing would look nicer, but then inside it does kind of make it look a bit strange because some of the windows are different heights, but it does kind of like work out in the end. I try to separate them out a little bit and put things in front of the window to try and make it fit and look normal. So I ended up doing a parents' room, a teens' room, and I did it relatively neutral on there as well, some kind of greys and darks, so that I try not to put too many like gendered rooms in my build. Sometimes I like to do like a really cute little princessy kids room, but most of the time like my builds are relatively neutral, just so again, so like any family can jump in and it will be ready to play. But in this one I did do a very pinky princessy kind of room because of the season's beds with the 4 posts and the like what are they called, and they're kind of like sheer curtains. I just love it, and I would love to bed like that when I was a kid, especially as I shared a room with my younger sister, so I could just imagine having a bed with like curtains, so you could, you know, have a little bit of privacy in your shared room. And in my kids' rooms I try and add as many like activity objects as I possibly can, and the same with toddlers as well. I try and cram the beds to the one side so they can have as many toys and activity things as possible. So in the hallway I added in a little office space with an extra computer, because at this point there was only 1 computer and it was in the teens room, and again Sims tend to kind of like drift towards the computers very like autonomously. So I decided to like put one in the hallway, so there's 2 in the build in total, and there's space downstairs for another one, so that way there's not all the Sims like trying to use the 1 computer, especially with like a lot of the work tasks needing a computer as well. I do change the roof trim because it does cut into the building a little bit, so I changed the roof trim on a couple of the roofs. Doesn't stand out too much, but there are a few roof trims that are the thin version compared to the thick version, which I originally used, and that was just purely because it cut through on the build where I put a fence in to make a little bit more of an open stairwell. So I was trying to put something under the stairs, and originally I had like a sofa or like a seat, so I can, you can imagine like putting your shoes on at the door. But in the end I make it like a little small little space for like kids to either do their homework or just, a space for like writing, which I think can be quite useful in some builds, because it creates like a little space for your Sims to use, which I quite like. And then here with the kitchen, I really wanted to have like an island that would separate the kind of open wall and the rest of the build, but still have this kind of nice flow going through it. And I think it's actually quite a nice kitchen. I think the fact that it's all white does put me off a little bit, and I think if I change anything, it would be maybe changing it to like the light wood with the white countertop, or maybe even the black counters. Because I think the white is just very washed out. It's not got as much texture to it as like the wooden coloured counters. But overall, I think it's a really nice like kitchen layout. I think it has like a nice flow to it. I think the whole house really. I really like the way it like leads into each room and kind of has like the half, like having half walls and then half like kind of cut away with cut away and opened up. I think it makes the place feel quite airy, even though it's still got a relatively like traditional cut-off layout. And with each room, it kind of felt like I had a natural idea of what was going where. But in terms of like overly furnishing or overly decorating, I didn't want to go too like mad with anything. Again, like I said, I just wanted it to be very neutral and very simple and ready to move in, especially as I knew I'd spent so much time on the outside. I really ran out of energy at this point, but I felt like if I didn't keep building, I would not have come back and finished it. So this is one of the bathrooms, and the rest of them were pretty much the exact same layout or the exact same items, so I cut those out. You don't need to see me fiddle around with the bathroom for like 6 minutes or whatever it was. So in this space I did 2 living rooms, or 2 like living areas, one with a big coffee table and 2 sofas, just to like open it up and have like a little place where maybe Sims eat or they have conversations and that, but then I keep a space for kids to have toys as well, because I don't know, in my like builds for families, I like to have the toys in amongst the house, not just in the rooms, so it really does feel like a family house rather than just like a nice pretty like show home with like a kids room upstairs. And then I have a little space here with the TV and another sofa, so there's like plenty of like seating for each Sim. And there's even just about enough for all the Sims to watch the TV, and I also managed to squeeze in a little easel as well, so there's every kind of skill building object. And I think I also added a guitar later on as well. So I can imagine, with 8 Sims, you've got to keep them entertained and keep them busy. So we're coming to the end of the build now. Thank you for watching. If you've made it to the end, I thank you extra. Don't forget to like and subscribe, drop a comment if you like this build. It's available on the gallery under the same username, called Eggy, and I will speak to you soon.